Hi, I'm the Realtor Evan, and we're coming to you for another week of talking shop about real estate. Yes, we're in the car again, going to more showings, and it worked so well last time, I thought I'd do it again. But we have been progressing over the last couple of weeks. If you've been following along to the videos, you should have seen the video we did about buyer consultations and talking about when you first meet your agent, getting you to the point of understanding the needs that you're going to want for your dream house. And then once you've narrowed that down, you've probably come up with a few properties you wanted to see. So we've progressed into talking about showings, both in real life as well as virtual showings, and what they're all about and what you should plan on doing during those showings. And this week we're progressing into offers and how to present an offer, what that means, what that entails, as well as getting into that escrow process and what that exactly is. So stick around, I hope you like it. As always, please give the thumbs up if you do, and subscribe to the channel so you can be alerted when we come out with more videos in connection to these. And of course, if you haven't seen the other videos, I highly recommend you check those out too. So again, we've gotten up to this process. We've seen houses now that we like, and now we found the one house that we really want to live in, so we want to put in an offer. The agent will hopefully do their due diligence in looking to assess the current market value for that property to help you put in the best offer. I always recommend, especially if it's in a busy seller's market, which means that there's a lot of buyers out there bidding on houses, and you're trying to get your offer to be seen, I always recommend that my buyers write a letter to the seller as well. That will help them to sort of personalize the offer. It's not just a number, it's not just another agent submitting paperwork, but rather there's a story behind it, and there's a couple, family, whatever it may be, even a single person who has a reason for wanting to buy this particular property. So the seller can see that, and that letter is always helpful. But we're going to talk about getting the right price, submitting it so that it's a strong offer, that it's a clean offer. And what ends up happening is after that offer is submitted, the seller's agent will receive that offer and talk it over with the seller. Now, we can't go into detail about every single, possible scenario. So we're just going to talk about general procedure and what happens when an offer is submitted. But typically, that seller's agent will then present it to the seller. They will talk over the pros and cons and the benefits of accepting the offer or rejecting the offer. And in other cases, the seller may even want to counter to that offer. So perhaps, it's close, but the seller is not getting everything that they would like out of it, so they counter it. Now, if the offer is accepted or rejected, that's great, or, unfortunately, that's bad news. It was rejected. But if the counter comes back, then you as the buyer get to discuss it again and to see if those terms are agreeable with you. And if you like those terms, you can accept it. If you don't like those terms, you can reject it. And again, if you are sort of comfortable with it, but you want to, counter it again, you have the right to do that, and it goes back to the seller. That can go back and forth a number of times. Hopefully the end goal is to get you guys to compromise and meet in the middle somewhere so that you can get the offer accepted. And once it's accepted, that's when we get closer to that escrow process. So what is escrow? Escrow, actually, a little bit of fun facts here. Escrow is a word that has Germanic origin, and it means, in that old German origin, it means scroll. And now we use it to define this process, which is essentially the definition of escrow is, as a noun, it's a deed that is placed into trust by a third party, or as a verb, it's actually placing your trust in others. So that's essentially what's happening. We now have an accepted offer that's been accepted by both parties, and we want a neutral third party to come in and oversee this process and make sure that the terms that have been outlined in this agreed to offer and accepted to offer are properly adhered to, and just, the funds are distributed accordingly. And that's essentially what escrow is. Now, escrow is officially opened when the buyer submits the earnest money deposit. Earnest money is basically the deposit that the buyer is willing to put down in order to say, I'm serious about this offer, and here is, my sort of guarantee that I want to go through with this. So the earnest money deposit is typically about 3% of the purchase price of the home. So if you're doing the math and you are putting down 20% deposit and you're taking out a loan for the rest, then you'll put down 3% earnest money deposit to open up the escrow. Escrow company will go through the terms of the agreement and make sure everything's being honored. And at the end of that process and getting the whole loan situated and the appraisal contingencies, and we'll talk about that maybe another time, at the end of that process, you have the closing, and that's what's referred to as the closing of escrow, and therefore the closing of the process and the time in which you get your keys to the house. You sit down at a table, you sign a bunch of documents as the buyer, you sign a bunch of documents as the seller, and you as the buyer bring a check to the table for the remaining 17% of your down payment, at which time the seller gets their check for the price of the house. And that's pretty much it. You've now bought a house. Everything else is, you have to move in, you get to have a party, but all of those things you can do on your own. You don't need the agent's help with that anymore. So if you have any questions about the process, please let me know. I'm always available by email at therealtorevan@gmail.com, and certainly you can comment below. Always please appreciate the thumbs up, the likes, as well as the subscriptions to the YouTube channel. Follow me on all social media, and we'll come to you more with new videos about different topics from buyers and sellers standpoint every week here at my channel. I'm the Realtor Evan, and I'll see you next time.